Sleeping Beauty, retold and illustrated by John Patience. There was once a king and queen who dearly wanted a child, and after many years, the queen gave birth to a baby daughter. To show his pleasure, the king gave a magnificent christening feast and ordered his scribes to invite the 6 good fairies of the kingdom as guests of honor. It was a wonderful occasion. There was plenty of good food, music from the king's minstrels, a troupe of acrobats, and a juggler. When the feast was over, the fairies stepped up one by one to bestow their blessings on the baby. She would have the temper of an angel, sing as sweetly as a nightingale, dance like a leaf on the breeze, be as beautiful as a summer's day, as graceful as a swan, and... Suddenly the door was flung open, and in strode a 7th fairy. She was very old and extremely angry at having been forgotten. She greeted no one but screamed out a horrible curse that the princess would one day prick her finger on a spindle and die. A terrible silence fell upon the room, but the youngest fairy, who had not yet bestowed her blessing, spoke up, saying, "I cannot undo the curse, but I can soften it. The princess will indeed pierce her finger on a spindle, though she will not die, but fall into a deep sleep that will last for 100 years." The king was filled with fear. He gave orders that every spindle in the land should be destroyed in a bonfire, lest the fairy's curse should be fulfilled. The years passed, and the princess grew up to be all that the good fairies had promised. Then one day at the age of 15, she was wandering about the castle when she came upon a room at the top of a tower. In a keyhole in the door was a glittering golden key. The princess reached out and turned it, and the door swung open. In front of her sat an old woman quietly spinning at her wheel. The princess had never seen a spinning wheel before and was eager to try it. But no sooner had she taken up the wool from the spindle than she pricked her finger and fell into a deep sleep. At this, the old lady, who was really the wicked fairy, let out a horrible peal of laughter and disappeared. The wicked fairy's laughter echoed all around the castle and brought the king's soldiers rushing into the room. But it was obvious that nothing could be done to help the princess. With tears in his eyes, the king carried his daughter to her bed and laid her to rest. Then he too began to fall under the wicked fairy's spell, as did everyone else in the castle. One by one, the courtiers, the cooks, the guards, and the footmen, the pigeons on the rooftops, the horses in the stables, cats, dogs, and mice, all fell into a profound slumber. The years passed by, and a great tangle of thorns grew up around the castle, and together with the thorns grew the legend of the Sleeping Beauty. Many brave young men came to try to rescue the beautiful princess, but they were all caught in the vicious thicket of thorns and died horrible deaths. Now 100 years had passed, and a prince from another land came riding by. He saw the ragged flags fluttering from the turrets, which peeped above the thicket, and asked an old man about the castle. The old man, who had heard the story of the Sleeping Beauty from his grandfather, told it to the prince, but he left him with a warning. "If you value your life," he said, "you will forget the Sleeping Beauty and return home." The prince, however, was valiant and decided to hack his way through the thorns. Amazingly, no sooner had he drawn his sword than the thicket parted, and a safe pathway opened up before him. As the prince entered the enchanted castle, the sound of his footsteps echoed down the corridors and through the dusty halls, breaking the silence of a century. Everywhere he went, he came upon people wrapped in deepest sleep and draped in veils of cobwebs. He wandered on through the labyrinth of the castle with his heartbeat pounding in his ears. But he became more and more afraid and wished himself out in the warm sunshine, far away from this eerie, deathly place. At last he came to a staircase which led to the door of a small bed chamber. He entered, and there he found the sleeping princess. In wonder, the prince stooped over the bed and gently kissed her on the lips. The princess's eyelids fluttered and opened, and as she looked upon the prince, they fell in love, and so the 100-year curse was broken. At the moment the princess awoke from her sleep, so did everyone else, and soon the castle was full of life and merrymaking. The king and queen were overjoyed to see their daughter again, and everyone said what a wonderful couple she and the prince made. Not long after that, the two of them married and, waving goodbye, set out on a journey to the prince's land, where they lived together in peace and happiness to the end of their days. Hi! If you like this video, please give this a like and hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon to get notified whenever I release a new video.